here. Come on, man. For everybody who's just joined us, we go live across all major platforms here. So we definitely want to make sure you get in the most uncut version of what we got to say around here. There's no kind of editing that we do. So you're going to get everything delivered right to your doorstep. All right. So first thing, let's jump back over because we got a fun, packed show for everybody. Of course, Anthony's behind the camera over here. We're going to be talking about the fact that Americans have no money today. Americans are out of money. All right. Malls are a dead thing, and there's finally a report, and finally one of the last major malls in America is gone forever. Kanye West back in the news again, and something that I know everybody is very excited about, the opportunity of Red Lobster might bring back the all-you-can-eat endless shrimp. We'll talk about what that means and more. But first, I want to jump into something I said yesterday, and I want to just tell people that I was absolutely right, Anthony. This is right now, the next 3 weeks as we go post-Masters into the Kentucky Derby, the worst 3 weeks in sports. I don't care what anyone says, and I just want to back up my opinion right now and show people that I am right. The worst 3 weeks in sports all year long. Let me just run this down for everybody about why the next 3 weeks are a complete waste of time. Number one, no NFL games. Okay. Number one. Number two, March Madness is over. Talk about an emotional dip after going through that. NBA regular season ends, given there's some playoffs, okay? It's the first round of the playoffs in the NBA. This is not do or die, all right? No one begins to watch really until we start getting a little deeper. We start getting into May. That's when I start watching NBA playoffs big. MLB, no one cares. The season's going to run for the rest of history, rest of time. It's going to run. Nobody cares what's going on in Major League Baseball right now. We got like 500 more games to play until it actually matters. We got to get through spring, and we got to get through the dog days of summer before baseball even matters. You have nothing that is going on that is worth a darn right now. The other thing you could look at is you could look at the NHL. Okay, the maybe million people that are going to watch the NFL or the NHL playoffs might agree with that. The NHL simply does not have an audience anymore. If I was to look up right now, in fact, could you look this up for me? Yes. Let's take a look at this, everybody. What did the Stanley Cup last year? What was the viewership on the Stanley Cup? How many millions of people watched the Stanley Cup last year? I'm not trying to take away from hockey at all, but what I am saying is that this is the worst 3 weeks that we get in sports in the entire year. I mean, I got to think it's low, Anthony.
What do you think?
2.3 million people.
2.5?
2.5 million?
Yeah.
Come on, folks. Okay, now let's do this. The last season finale of The Bachelor, how many people watched? I want to put this in comparison when I see somebody that tells me yesterday, oh, the NHL playoffs is going on. The Stanley Cup, with all that it is, 2.5 million. Talk to me about the season finale of The Bachelor. I'm going to do this live. How much?
3.2.
3.2 million on the season finale of The Bachelor. Everybody, I just want to take this into consideration how dead the NHL is. NHL playoffs 2025, you've got 2.5 million people. The last season of The Bachelor, 3.3 million on the season finale. I am just staking my claim that the next 3 weeks that we have within sports is the worst that there is. The only thing that is going to save it around the corner is going to be the Kentucky Derby, everybody. The Kentucky Derby going down on May 2nd this year. So mark your calendars right now. From April 13th through May the 2nd, get ready for the worst time that we have in sports for 52 weeks out of the year. Get ready for the most useless games and stuff that nobody cares about, because that is what is around the corner. I just want to get that off my chest because it is absolutely true, everyone. Now, let's jump into our stories today, Anthony. I want to talk about the first one. First one comes to us by money, all right? The average American has $7,500 in their savings account. And if you're under 35, many of our viewers are over here, $5,400 is the average. I'm looking for it right now. I'm going to break down these numbers for everybody. New study shows if you are under the age of 35, the average in the savings account is $5,400. 35 to 44, $7,500. 45 to 54, 8,700, 55 to 64, 8,000, 65 to 74, 13,400. And if you're over the age of 75, it actually does a dip right there. 10,000 is going to be the average amount of savings that someone like that has. Now, I took a step further right here, Anthony. I took a look at credit card debt. If we take a look at the average person under 35 is 5,400 in savings. The average person of 18 to 35 has $4,500 to $6,000 in credit card debt. So right there in the middle, basically telling us that the person has the same amount of credit card debt as what they do in savings right now. I think it just is indicative of the fact that Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That the money that they have in savings, they're using that to pay down maybe minimum balances or balances on a credit card until they can go in and free up some capital right there to maybe go buy or make another purchase. And if you look at the outliers, which is not really an outlier, 25% of Americans have over $10,000 in credit card debt right now. So if you're talking about the average being somewhere between that, you've got 25% on the other end that are over that $10,000 mark. And so what I look at here is what does the future look like in the next 12 months? We've talked about on this show, there's going to be a lot of people who lose their jobs. We talked about the Oracle story last week that you brought up. Thousands. I don't know the final number. At the time we were looking at 10,000 plus people in America alone had lost their jobs, some 20,000 over in India. And when I look at this, I think to myself, the people that are going to lose their jobs because of AI in the months in the year to come, there is no one that's sitting out there with a lot of money sitting in their account. Now, given that they may have their money invested in other places, but I don't think that's really the case. I think your average person out there who's 30 years old and been working for let's say a company for 8 years, they might have some money that might be saved up within a 401k, but they're not sitting there going, I've got 3 months worth of income here to go find another gig, to go learn another skill. This is where I think the big problem we're going to find as we have more layoffs due to AI. Where are these people going to find the money to support themselves? And if we say at that point that the option they're going to have is going to be to run up credit cards, that ain't going to be healthy for anybody. Because once you get into some credit card at 18% and you've got a $20,000 balance on this thing, all right, and you have no income to be able to pay that thing off, maybe you're making minimum payments on this, good luck being able to get out of debt. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest lessons I've learned as we've grown this business is the more you can stay out of debt, the more opportunities you have for immense growth, all right? When you just feel like you are tied up in debt, you can't take risk, all right? You can't do the things that you would do if you have free cash flow. If you knew that, hey, this contract doesn't work out, if I can take a gamble on this piece of technology, maybe I take a gamble on a contract I normally wouldn't, or a service that I may not have offered before. If you can do those things because you're not crippled by debt, your business will grow quicker. But once you get tightened in there and you know that you have minimum payments that have to be made, you've got this and that, you get so focused on what you need to do to bring in cash and the cash flow, it becomes very difficult to think creatively into growing a business the right way. I believe that individuals in the next year, we're going to see that number of credit card debt go from, let's say, 4,500 to 6,000 up to 9 to 10,000, meaning that the average person under 35 years old will have more credit card debt than they do on average in savings. And when we see that right there, I don't see how the economy is going to recover once we get to that point. Right now, we're at that teetering point. We're at that everybody's about even. If I needed to pay off all my credit card debt, I could with what's in my account. We get to a point where that's not even possible for the average American. It means we're going to have a lot of people on that outlier side, the top 20% right there, that are so far skewed. What do we do when they start filing for bankruptcy at 36 years old because there's no way out of $30,000 in credit card debt, or at least they feel like there's no way out at that point, Anthony?
Honestly, I think it's just sad because I feel like a lot of education needs to go into like high school with like credit cards, like learning how all these credit cards work and stuff. Because when I was in high school, I didn't know anything about credit cards. I just went into college, and then all these like random credit card companies just all over the campus. It's like, hey, free credit card, free $10,000. And as like a college student, just like, oh, I could get free money and just doing all this stuff. And so we just have a bad system in place where it's just wanting you to get more in debt, more, and just not educating people just how to use a credit card properly.
I completely agree with you. Two things come to my mind. Number one, you know that as a company, we are out of debt right now. Okay. There was a time when I took out a loan. All right. And people are very familiar with these types of loans. Sometimes in a business, you have to take them out. And then when I tell you that they crush you, Anthony, they crush you. Basically, I remember taking out a loan early in this business. And I think the loan was for $74,000. Okay. This is circa like mid 2022. Okay. I needed cash flow. And in the process, I remember them telling me there's like some ridiculous interest rate. But I remember thinking, well, interest rate won't matter to me. I'll just pay off the loan early. And I won't have to pay interest on it. They'll make a little bit of money. I'll pay the loan back and I'm going to be good. I needed the money bad enough to where I wasn't looking at the details. Fast forward, after I took the loan out, there's no interest on these loans. What happens is they give you a penalty right off the bat. So that $74,000 went to $124,000 the day I took the loan out. And you owed all that $50,000 in debt. Now, these are brutal loans to take out. The people on the other side, though, there's a purpose for these loans. And I wish that more business owners understood this. As much as I hated it after I took it out, it did float me. It did do its job to get me from point A to point B and allowed us to grow. Did I hate the fact that somebody made money on me? Boy, did they ever. They made a lot of money on the ignorance tax, the stupid tax by me. But when you're a new business, you don't have a lot of opportunity, and you don't have a lot of collateral, and maybe you don't have a lot of money coming into where you can show your books that you've got, $400,000 this month or $500,000 this month. You don't have that stuff. And so there's not a lot of traditional banks that are going to be willing to loan you much money. And so these loans that are out there, unsecured, they serve a purpose. But to your point, I wish more business owners understood, man, every dollar you take out when you do one of those unsecured loans is just going to crush your business in the long run. Now, I'm not saying there's not a time for it. There is surely a time to take out an unsecured loan, or maybe you have to run up credit card debt at time to get through. But once you do, understand the penalties that your business is going to face and constraints. I know it. I've made that mistake. And then, I remember going to University of Florida, Anthony. Where'd you go to school?
UCF.
You went to UCF. Yeah. I remember when I went to I guess what would it be called? The student orientation.
Oh yeah.
Like an orientation, right? Like where you show up there during the summer, to get your class schedule, I walk the campus, whatever. And I remember Wells Fargo, or maybe it was whatever. Yeah, Wells Fargo was set up there, giving away freaking credit cards like it was candy. And I think it had like a $500 limit. And I wanted one. I'm like, I want a credit card. Okay. And mother was like, no, you can't have a credit card or anything. And I went through college without a credit card. Thank the Lord that I didn't. I don't think I would have been responsible, especially when I was drinking a little too much, if they would have given me $5,000 on that thing. I probably would have ran up to 5,000.
Be like, first round's on me.
Yeah, let's go. Throw that plastic down. I feel like I'm so cool. But in the end, I ended up working 3 jobs when I was in college, probably because of that. But in good part, I was able to graduate without any debt in college, which again goes back to our situation here. If you have debt, you are just constrained by that debt. Every decision you make is weighed against the debt that you have. And so for people out there, I would challenge you to look at what is your savings right now. Take a look at your numbers. If you have something to where, you have an immense amount of credit card debt and you have a small amount of savings, and that savings is only paying for the minimum payments or the interest on a credit card to keep them off of your back, you're going to have to change something in your life in order to achieve financial freedom. And there's only really 2 ways to do that. You can change your lifestyle, you can change the way you spend money, or you change how much money you make. And what I'm worried about right now is we're coming on a time where I think that a lot of people are in a spot where they need to make more money, but will not be making more money in the short term. I don't think businesses are prepared for the AI wave. And as we see this number grow right here, we're going to see an immense amount of stress on the American consumer, which will be very interesting to me to see what happens to small businesses as this number grows. Does the creativeness of small businesses begin to shrink, begin to diminish, because people just feel the squeeze that they're going to have for money over the next year? This right here will be a story that we come back to right here, Anthony. Want to talk about this report coming from USA Today. Our second story of the day is coming, and this is from a report from a Blake Fontenay. Okay, Blake Fontenay offered an opinion piece in USA Today after seeing the Riverside Mall in Nashville is being demolished. Everyone, as Blake writes right here, the mall was an American experience, but not anymore. Now, people might wonder, why cover this story, Patrick? I mean, obviously, malls are dead, right? I don't think anybody is sitting there going, hey, I have no idea why malls are closing, because I've never heard of this Amazon thing. Yeah, everybody's heard of what's happening, but I want to more talk about what it means to, I don't know, just like society in general. When I was growing up, Anthony, you probably didn't experience this. You're a little bit younger than what I am, but I mean, it wasn't uncommon. I worked at a mall as a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old, place called American Cafe in Brandon, Florida. It was like a Applebee's within the mall. And like some of my best memories were working in that restaurant. And then, you'd get out and you'd see your friends walking the mall on Saturdays and things. It was like a place where people could go and people could socialize. And the reason I wanted to cover this story is I can't think of a place right now that has taken the place of where malls were at in the late 90s and early 2000s. We're a place where young people, everyone can gather to be able to socialize, see one another. That doesn't cost a ton of money to show up and do. And it's real indicative of where our society is going, is I think we become more fractionalized, and it worries me a little bit. Yeah. It's like, where do people go besides, they call it, I think it's like the third place. Like the third place would be work, home, and then where's the third place that you go? For a lot of Americans, that might be church, right? That's your third home type of deal, your third place where you're able to socialize. It might be a bar that somebody frequents. But I think for a lot of people at one time in their life or another, that place might have just been a mall on a weekend where, maybe you had $100 in your pocket and I don't know, you bought something nice or something, or maybe you had $50 and you went to a store and you bought something there. It was an experience that you could go through. And that experience is dead now. Every mall that I'm seeing right now is just closing down, with the exception of high-end shopping. There still is a place for that. We see that here in Orlando with Mall Millennia. The other malls that we have around in Orlando have all shut down, or they're not someplace you really want to go.
Yeah, like the Fashion Square Mall. Just even this week, they're taking out the movie theater. That's the only thing that's really in that mall right now.
That's it. There's so many malls, and I think anybody who watches this from anywhere would understand malls everywhere are closing down. This one particular one was in Nashville. I think it was built back in the 1970s. And when I see this, I go, what happens next, right? Like, what replaces that for people? Is it an online community that becomes the third place that people go? And without that, man, like I just feel like a part of my childhood is going to be gone forever. Like I'll tell my kids maybe one day, hey, I went to this place where all the shopping was in one place. Well, why don't you just order it now or whatever it is at that time and blink and, I don't know, touch your mind and it can happen. Who knows what'll be going on in 20 years. But I think there's something to be said for shopping with friends, being there. And now malls are just dying more and more. And I don't think there's a place to replace them right now.
I have a weird feeling. I feel like something's going to replace it, but just a different form of it.
Okay.
Because I feel like we always go through this where it's like records, where it's like, records came back. And then out of nowhere, now high-waisted jeans are back. And it's like, when I look at that, I'm like, what is this? I'm like, this looks weird to me. And it's like all these like things just come and go. So I feel like there's going to be another form of a mall, but I don't know if it's going to be the exact same.
Good point.
Just a different version.
Yeah, I've maybe with malls, it might be the same thing I've said about movie theaters. I don't think movie theaters are dead. I think they need to be redesigned. Movies need to become an experience again. Where movie theaters like AMC lost, and is that at one time going to the movies was an experience. Popcorn, all this different stuff, the big screen, comfortable chairs. Like at that time, it was ahead of its time, and the experience of going to a movie was something special. What happened is that as technology began to evolve, you could have the movie experience at home. In addition, there were obviously changes within how movies were dispersed to the public. But now when I look at this and I go, okay, if you give me a movie that comes out in AMC theaters, I think that's the only one I can think of that's a chain now. Regal was the one I think at one time. And you give me the experience of going there or waiting a week and watching it at home, I don't believe that the experience in a theater is that much better than the experience you're going to get for some of us at home. You put a big screen, surround sound, big comfy couch, grab the popcorn. You can buy all the candy. Heck, you can have the candy delivered to you. You don't have to go leave your house to get the candy. And you can have as much soda as you want delivered right to your door. I think that movie theaters like malls are going to have to reinvent themselves into an experience. Perhaps it's something where you can have people that serve you with menus and things like that. You see things like the Sphere in Vegas, where it's become an experience to go watch. What is it? What's the Follow the Yellow Brick Road?
Oh yeah, Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, that one, yeah. So it's an experience to go there, and it's selling out to go watch it because it's such an experience. Even though it's a theater in the traditional sense, it has so much more that it's offering. So I think that we're going to have to see, like you said, a reinvention of what the mall is. Maybe it's more interactive things that people can do together. Maybe it's more interest-based. I can see that happening. For instance, maybe there's a store in the mall where people who are interested in Pokemon can go, and that becomes a place where people are able to gather. And there are other interest-based stores that surround that. I could see that being a thing. I don't know what it holds, but what I do believe is that it has to change. Just having your Abercrombie and Fitch next to your Gap, next to your Godiva chocolates is not going to work in today's economy. You need a reason for people to go there. And I can see it being an interest-based location where people can go and interact with people that have the same interest that they do, whatever that might be. I think that right now, if I was to really kind of dissect this a little bit, Americans are more lonely than they may have ever been before. We've talked about it on this show. There's nothing that is social about social media. Nothing. You're never interacting with anybody in a positive way. All right. No one's ever leaving a comment 99% of the time as something that's an encouragement to another person. And we are lonely. And when I see that malls are gone, it hits me because I realize just one more step to Americans becoming a little bit further detached from one another. Because there is something that's unique about a mall in America where somebody who's a billionaire can be walking next to a person who can't rub two pennies together. And that to me is just where we are headed to right now as we become more fractionalized. I hope it doesn't become that way because I think that we need a place where everybody can come together, just walk around, enjoy themselves, go to the food court, all right? Have one of the Chinese things or whatever, like everybody has, maybe a slice of pizza or something, and enjoy the time with your family without having to go to a theme park and spend $1,000 or something like that. That's just what come to my mind. We got to make it more of an experience-driven idea. That's it. Malls are gone though, and hope they can make a comeback. And I think you're right. I think it's going to have to be a different kind of mall, Anthony. I like that. All right, let's move on to our third story. Now, this one, I'll tell you, I've got to read this one, everybody. This comes from The Guardian. Kanye West offers to meet with the UK's Jewish community after wireless backlash, everyone. All right, this is a big deal right here. For those of you who have not heard, I want to read this story. It's from The Guardian, entitled again, Kanye West offers to meet UK's Jewish community after wireless backlash. For those of you who are not aware, there's a London festival called Wireless, and Kanye West, was booked to perform at the festival. Well, that did not go over well in the UK. Members of the UK Jewish community have had a fierce backlash over the booking of London's Wireless Festival. West, who legally goes by Ye, has been criticized for making anti-Semitic remarks, including voicing admiration for Adolf Hitler. Last year, he released a song called Hail Hitler a few months after advertising a terrible T-shirt. He had planned appearance, has been condemned by the Jewish organizations. A lot of terrible stuff here coming out. On Tuesday, he released a statement addressing the whole entire event. Let's see here. In January, he took out a full page, full page advert in the Wall Street Journal apologizing for his behavior and attributing his his inflammatory actions to his bipolar 1 disorder. In a statement, he said, "I've been following the conversation around wireless and want to address it directly." So he's asking to speak with the Jewish community over there in the UK. Then you've got the guy who is actually directing the festival. He says that it's all forward for him and that he intends to promote the festival and he intends for him to perform there. Adding, quote, "We are not giving him a platform to extol opinion of whatever nature, only to perform the songs that are currently played on the radio stations in our country and the streaming platforms in our country and listened to and enjoyed by millions," end quote. All right. So we basically, Anthony, what we got is we got a controversial figure here. Yeah. This guy has been tagged and paid. He's tagged to go ahead and come over here to come over to the UK and play in this wireless festival. Well, people hear about that, and given his remarks, the community over there in the UK is livid. They're not happy. And I think that it speaks to a bigger question, which is what I want to discuss. And the question I want to put out for people is this: does an individual deserve redemption for the words that they say? And I think this is the bigger issue I want to get across. No one's going to defend what Kanye West says. All right. Like, I think it's all very clear the guy's messed up in the head, right? Okay. He's also a great artist and has created some of the best music maybe in the last century, you could argue. He's been a transformative artist. And I find this to be something that I go back and forth on because he is somebody that I don't like the things that he says, but then I've listened to some of his music and I'm like, there's real genius in it right there. And so I asked this question more as a kind of an open-ended question of what exactly do we expect from people? Do we allow an apology and then take it at face value? Is there a certain way that we look at an apology? Like, for instance, if somebody apologizes, but we feel their intention is maybe malicious or they're just trying to be selfish in that apology, how should we look at this? And I feel that this is a very difficult one for people to think about, that if you were part of this community, how it might affect you. And if somebody's out there paying someone millions of dollars in your backyard to come perform after that person has been so critical, so detrimental, and so ignorant to what has happened within a community. To me, that is where I look at it and I go, man, this is something to where it speaks to a bigger issue. And I hope that people will look at this story and follow it, because I think that we should think about, what does redemption look like for a person? And when is a person entitled to redemption? And I don't have the answer to that. I don't want to have the answer to that here, because for everybody, it's a little bit of a different feeling. Nor do I believe that I can be presumptuous enough to understand what someone in that community would feel about someone like that. But what I can say is that there does come this question in every bad decision that people make, where if there is a genuine remorse that somebody has, should there be a redemption and an opportunity for that? And when does that come? And I don't have an answer for that, but I hope that people will take a look at this story and think to yourself, is it now is the time, or is it not the time to give an opportunity for someone like that to have a redemption and an opportunity to make it right with such a large community? This is one that I just wanted to bring up so that people will follow this story. We're going to follow it a little bit closer here to kind of see what happens. I would love to see a time when, Ye can go in and meet with this community, and maybe there becomes an understanding and something positive to come out of this conversation, rather than what we've seen in the past couple of years, which are a lot of erratic statements and things that nobody in their right mind can back up. I think that people would love to see someone that has such a great artistic ability have an opportunity to, not an opportunity, give himself an opportunity to try to make things a better situation for all of those people in that community that he's had such a detrimental effect on over the last 24 months. A very, very unique story. I don't know where it's going to go. I struggle with this one, though, Anthony, because I think that he is such a fantastic artist. And then coupled with such terrible things that have been said, I can't be a fan of him because I can't be a fan of him as a person. And then I find it difficult to separate the music and the talent from who he is as an individual. And for me, that's where I draw a line, right? And I can't listen to the music if I can't separate the two. All right. I've had the same, and I thought about this, and I want to dive into it here with you. The same is true for athletes. All right. When I see an athlete who does something stupid, all right, I find it difficult to follow that athlete because I see the individual that they are. And so I can't separate the two, right? Yeah. And so I find that difficult with him, and I don't listen to his music now, even though I've heard genius in it previously, because I can't separate not liking the person and the things that they've said in the past from the music that I hear. Mm-hmm. Just like I can't separate watching a guy in the NFL. Can't remember that guy's name right now. Everybody will blow me up over this one. Played for the Dolphins. He got caught with so many times. I mean, what was it? Not the receiver. Oh boy, he had the video of him abusing the woman in the hotel. What was it? Controversy.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean Tyreek Hill. Very difficult for me to like that person, and so because of that, I got a fan of that person when they play the game. Can I recognize the talent that person has? Yeah. You're darn right I can. It'd be stupid not to. Yeah. But I'm not a fan of who they are, and therefore I don't cheer them on. I'm not going to wear a jersey with that person's name on my back because I can't support who they are as an individual. All right? Same goes for Kanye West and his music. I can't separate the comments that were made from the talent that person brings to the table, and so I can't be a fan. And I know there are a lot of people that can, and good for them. My personal opinion is I just can't separate both from one another.
Yeah, I feel like there's almost two sides to redemption, where it's like you have, for example, like Robert Downey Jr., how he went through jail and all this stuff. But with his redemption, there's a lot of things he had to personally overcome, and like it wasn't anything that he caused harm to anyone else. Whereas with Kanye West, he's saying these comments and it's like hurting other people, and same thing with Tyreek Hill, where it's like it's causing harm to other people, and so we can't really redeem. Or maybe we can at some point, but it's a lot harder for us to redeem him because of things like that. Whereas like Tiger Woods, even just last week.
Yeah, we did the story on Tiger Woods. You're right,
and he's going through almost the same thing as like Robert Downey Jr. It's more like self things that he has to fix. He hasn't really done anything to other people, but it's just himself that he needs to overcome.
That's a really interesting point. Like I look at that and I think to myself, are we more likely as a public than I think the answer is obviously yes, to forgive somebody who is self-harming. You've done something to yourself, you've ruined your own life, you haven't done something to somebody else. Once I believe you hurt and harm somebody else, that's when I think it really becomes terrible. And it becomes more difficult for that redemption, whether that be physically or mentally, whatever it might be. You're right, though. Tiger Woods is a good example of that. I still feel, gosh, you're right, Anthony. I still feel like I could be a fan of Tiger Woods. Mm-hmm. Now, if he had hurt someone with, like, I'm trying to think like where I go with this. If he had hurt someone with his decisions, it would be more difficult for me to wrap my head around being a fan of that person. Once they've gone and they've done something that's going to hurt that other group of people, and they've done it purposefully, That's where I think I have to draw the line and where it becomes more difficult at that redemption right there. Very good point. Like the difference between how we look at redemption, right? Much easier when it's somebody hurting themselves. You almost root for the comeback when they're hurting themselves. And then somebody's hurting another person, you find it difficult to even cheer for them again. Yeah. If you want to look at it that way in life, even if it's not a public figure, difficult to cheer for them right there. Very interesting. All right, we're going to end right now with a little bit of a lighter note, but one that I think will mean a lot to some people out there. This story right here, let's see. We have got a story coming out right now that Red Lobster, according to the U.S. Sun, is planning a revival of their iconic endless shrimp deal. Folks, if you love the endless shrimp, it might be back at Red Lobster coming soon. A Red Lobster spokesperson told Bloomberg they don't have, quote, anything to announce at this time, but people inside the company are saying that it could be around the corner. Now, for those of you who are not aware, this endless shrimp deal was like the thing that would come back for a limited time at Red Lobster in the early 2000s. And then back in 2023, the offer for endless shrimp became a year-round deal at Red Lobster. And many people point to that as being one of the things that just tanked the company into bankruptcy right now. And so what we're looking at is this coming back here, maybe at like a limited time, but people love this deal right here. And for the last couple of years, there's not been a lot to celebrate over at Red Lobster. In fact, I've got a timeline right here that in 2020, a group purchased 49% majority stake in the chain from Golden Gate Capital for an undisclosed amount of money, and Red Lobster reports record-breaking profits, pulling in $6.5 billion for the year back in 2020. All right, then in 2023, endless shrimp becomes a permanent part of the menu. And what do you know? 2024, Red Lobster announces a $22 million loss, and then the majority shareholder decides that they're going to go in and sell their shares. And Red Lobster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in May of 2024. So people are looking at this like, hold on, this is the exact deal that took you from perhaps profitable into, holy shoot, you're Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Now, I think there are a lot of other problems with Red Lobster other than some endless shrimp. But this right here could mean something that is great for people. I mean, people love this deal. They will go to Red Lobster for the endless shrimp. I love the shrimp scampi there. I still think they have those biscuits that I love so much over at Red Lobster. You could make an argument the best biscuit that there is pre-meal. I mean, I'm trying to think right now, best biscuits right now. Red Lobster's up there. I mean, you can buy those things at the store now. Like go to Publix, you can buy those little Red Lobster biscuits. I don't know. I think that, this is not going to save Red Lobster, just like it's not going to save Olive Garden to bring back, endless breadsticks and salad. Endless shrimp is not going to bring back that chain. And I think a lot of it has to do with the experience of walking into a Red Lobster. If you haven't been into a Red Lobster, boy, is it bad. The smell, the look, the feel, for me, it's just everything that restaurants are not right now. People like to walk in, get a fast meal, sit down in an open environment, have a conversation, and get out of there and leave. The days of like going out to dinner like that, sitting down at a booth, it just seems stuffy to me. It doesn't seem like something that's going to make a comeback anytime soon. They need to revive how the customer experience at a Red Lobster. I think that's going to be a lot more important than endless shrimp coming back to the restaurant right now. Yeah. So I'm going to be interested to see what this one does. I'm not a big endless shrimp guy. I know a lot of people that are, but there's a lot bigger problems with Red Lobster. They've got that young CEO. Can you look that up real quick? Yeah. Who's the CEO of Red Lobster? I think he's been around for just a couple of years right now.
Oh, he's only like 35.
35 years old.
Yeah, 2024.
So I'm right. So 2 years he's been with Red Lobster. He's a 35-year-old guy who's the CEO of this entire chain. All right. That's a lot of responsibility. And I've got to think that this individual is probably looking at what's going on within the restaurant and is looking for something to kind of just ignite the thing, a little shock into the restaurant and try to bring it back a little bit. because if you're 35, people are probably already looking at you like, hold on, man, does this guy know what he's doing? And you're looking for something that's going to just revive this place and get some people in the door. Even they bring it back for a limited time. Maybe they can use that to springboard into something else. Be very interested to see what happens with this one. So Red Lobster, we had Yee, we talked about Kanye West, we talked about malls in America that are dying and the fact that Americans have no money, and that is not getting any better right here. Folks, it was a good show here today, the Patrick Carr Show. And we, of course, kicked it off with knowing that it is the worst time coming up in sports for the entire year. And for anybody who disagrees with me, you're wrong. All right. So, no, in all seriousness, I appreciate y'all joining the show today. Thank you very much. Me and Anthony try to do this every single day right here to bring some cool entertainment to you in the middle of the day. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Patrick Carr Show. Thanks a lot, y'all.